Welcome to Living in Indianapolis, Indiana. I am Evan Deal, and we're so happy to have you here. Today, we're going to be taking a look at all the pros and cons of living in Fishers, Indiana, which is on the northeast side of the city, just outside the Loop. And if it is your first time on our channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and stay in the loop for everything happening in the Circle City. We're going to bring you all the best neighborhoods and all the best suburbs, parts of the city, and interesting things all over the place here in the 317. Can't wait to show it all to you. And now, let's dive into Fishers, Indiana. One of the best things about living in Fishers, Indiana are the amazing schools there. So if you've seen my Carmel video, you've heard me gush about all the educational opportunities on that side of Hamilton County, but the same is true in Fishers, Indiana. Fishers has not one, but two amazing school systems, with Hamilton Southeastern and Fishers, both being near the top of the state in pretty much every category you can think of. Certainly academically, both are among the highest rated public schools and schools of any type within all of Indiana and certainly around Indianapolis as well. So in addition to having those high academics, they also have availability of additional educational resources. So AP classes, there's going to be no shortage of those. Your child wouldn't be restricted on any particular classes, which may be the case in some smaller communities. But Fishers is a very large community and growing, and so educational opportunities are not capped. Also, there's the Fishers Educational Foundation, which helps with community involvement. So it's not just public governance of the school systems, but really a true community effort towards excellence for the students in the area. Another great thing about living in Fishers is how safe it is to live there. Statistically speaking, the FBI has ranked Fishers as one of the safest places to live in all of Indiana, certainly around the suburbs of Indianapolis and really across the whole state. They have an effective local police force, similar to what I mentioned in the other side of Hamilton County in Carmel. But not only that, there are a whole lot of neighborhood watch groups. So for instance, in Geist, many of the communities in the Fishers and the Indianapolis side, but in the Fishers side of Geist, have private security in addition to the strong local police force. Fishers is one of the lowest rated places for violent crime across the entire state. And in addition to that, the police in the area have local events to build rapport with the community and to give back, such as the Coffee with a Cop event that they host every year within Fishers. So it really is a statistically highly rated safe place to live within the state. One of the other great things about living in Fishers is how much there is to do. It's a really great suburb in terms of the local culture, which is still developing within the area, but more and more it's becoming a distinct voice around Indianapolis. So if you're in the Geist part of Fishers, there's the Geist Waterfront Park, and the Indianapolis Sailing Club and the Indianapolis Yacht Club are right there as well, right there on the reservoir within Geist. And the Nickel Plate Trail is another area for outdoor adventures and activities within Fishers. In fact, they have the Nickel Plate District Amphitheater, which hosts a lot of different events. There's concerts, there's festivals there. There's always something happening around Fishers. So it's a really great place to get out and about in your community. In addition to that, there are a ton of sporting facilities in Fishers. The Topgolf on the north side of Indianapolis is there. If you like going out there for like a company event or just for fun. There is the Fisher Sports Complex, which is a huge event with all types of available sports within there, indoor and outdoor facilities for soccer, baseball, basketball. It can all be found in Fishers. And the schools have great sports as well, with Fishers and Hamilton Southeastern. So it really is a great place to get out and about. There's also the Fishers Freedom Festival and other local events, with fireworks, with food vendors, just real sense of community within Fishers. And more as Fishers continues to develop, it stands alone on its own within Hamilton County, apart from Carmel. And while they're both great places to live, they are different culturally, and they do stand on their own as independent cities. And as I mentioned, with Fishers growing and developing, there has been significant economic growth within Fishers, and there's a ton of wealth there. So companies like Roche Diagnostics, it's technically in Indianapolis, but it's in Fishers. It's right off 96th Street. Huge, beautiful campus, the North American headquarters of a major international diagnostics company is in Fishers, Indiana. Navient for student loans and lending in Fishers, and it's only growing by the day, by the year. There are so many job opportunities in financial services, in healthcare, in all sorts of industries within Fishers, and that continues to grow both within the city and across Hamilton County. There's also the Fishers Ag Park. There's new startups there, fostering innovation in agriculture. Like I said, there's new companies coming everywhere, and it's not just one industry. And with that comes low unemployment, which leads to a strong local economy. Fishers is definitely in a growth pattern right now, with no signs of slowing down at the moment. It continues to have investment in the area, and it's a very strong place to live and grow. Now, one of the downsides of living in Fishers is that it can be an expensive place to live. There's neighborhoods like Saxony, Britton Falls, Masthead around Geist that can be a lot more expensive. And while Fishers on the whole is a little bit less expensive to live in than its neighbor Carmel, or definitely on the north side like Zionsville would be a more expensive place to live, it is definitely one of the more expensive places to live around Indianapolis when you're comparing to the east side, west side, south side. Fishers ranks as one of the more expensive places from a median home price. There are still new build communities in Fishers, but it's starting to fill up from a housing development standpoint as development continues to increase in the northeast part of the city. So housing is going to be more expensive there relative to other areas. And with that, there is a bit of an uptick in property taxes. So like the nickel plate district I mentioned earlier, they've seen a bit of an uptick in local property taxes as this economic development, housing development continues to expand. There's a lot of infrastructure work going in Fishers, and to help fund that, some of that's coming through property taxes, which is not abnormal in this type of case, but it is something to note. And another thing is the actual cost of living within Fishers. So something like childcare, for instance, is going to be more expensive. Some of your local amenities, and this is really across different parts of Fishers, whether you're in Fishers proper, out a little bit into Hamilton County or closer to Noblesville, or in the Geist district. Just regular services are going to be a little more expensive than other parts of Indianapolis, just given the area. Another con, and you're going to hear me say this across Indianapolis, is construction and travel time. So while Indianapolis is laid out amazingly from an interstate standpoint and from really how the different suburbs are laid out around the city, there can be delays, especially if you're traveling across the north side. Getting from one end of Fishers over to Carmel or Westfield or Zionsville, or getting downtown from Fishers, it can be challenging. Traffic does get backed up, and a lot of that has to do with construction from Indiana seasons. We have cold winters here that where it'll heat up for a little bit, the snow will melt, and then it'll freeze instantly, and then our asphalt cracks. That happens, and that happens in Fishers. My unscientific opinion is that the weather systems tend to curve north of I-70, and that definitely has Fishers in it. So it's something to keep in mind, is that there's a lot of construction going on within Fishers, especially as it continues to expand, and that can have a detrimental effect on commute times, especially if you're commuting, to Carmel, over to Carmel. If you're commuting downtown, the interstates can get backed up at peak times. So it's just something to think about in Fishers. Not necessarily a detriment. There are a lot of great interstate systems around, and a ton of roundabouts, even in Fishers. It's not the roundabout capital of Indiana like Carmel, but a lot of really well-developed traffic patterns in Geist, in Fishers. But just something to keep in mind, that the traffic can get backed up, especially during peak times. And one of the other cons is the still developing culture. So I mentioned earlier that Fishers is developing a distinct culture, but it's not to the point of maturity of like a Carmel or even Zionsville. Fishers is still finding its identity over time, and it's getting that more and more, but it's still, I would say, in development. And you can get that a lot from some of the new builds getting that. That leads to some, homogeneity in terms of how the houses look in a certain area. And the downtown in Fishers is getting stronger each year. There's more to do, but it's still in development over time. It's not quite as robust as some of the cultural offerings that you have elsewhere in Hamilton County or downtown in Indianapolis. So it's something that's still in development in Fishers. It's not necessarily a full con. It's just a to be determined. And there's still a lot of room for growth within the culture of the city to help it find its place within the larger city and larger state of Indiana. And one more con is the weather. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but it does get cold in the winter, and you really this is true for all of Indiana. It's not just Fishers, but it's something that I will mention because it's cold during the winter. There's no doubt about it. It was down in like the 0 degrees, wind chill -20 at one point in January, and that happens on a regular basis. There is snow. It's usually well handled though, and that's true across Hamilton County and throughout most of Marion County as well, which is where Indianapolis sits. And the roads get salted, the plows get out, and a lot of it can depend from neighborhood to neighborhood as well. So it's something important to check with your homeowners association. What does that look like? What are the response times for snow plows coming through, for salting? Do they have certain conditions that need to be met? Those are the types of things you're going to want to look at when you're planning to move to Fishers. You want to make sure you're getting the best care possible for that winter time. The other seasons, though, are really great. So that's the full list of the pros and the cons of living in Fishers, Indiana. On the whole, I think it shakes out to be a really great place to live and a strong city on Indianapolis's north side. It's sort of the sister city to Carmel within Hamilton County, with, of course, Westfield and Noblesville both being to the north of those two cities, respectively. And it really sits as the strong northeast corner in Indianapolis. Parts of Geist sit in Fishers. It kind of really stretches all the way up into Noblesville, and it's very close to Carmel as well. So it serves its own unique pocket on the north side. On the whole, it's just a great place to live. Houses are a little more affordable than other places on the north side. The community is growing. It's very strong, finding its cultural identity. It's just a nice place to live. So if you're interested in learning more about Fishers, stay tuned to Living in Indianapolis, Indiana. Be sure to check out more of our videos to explore this amazing city we call home, Indianapolis.